December 12th edition of the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. Good morning, Ms. Morkaisi.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Right. Sorry we're a little bit late starting. We had a bit of technical difficulty, but we'll continue with our agenda as prescribed. First thing on the agenda today is adjustments to the agenda, and I'll ask you, Mr. Morkaisi, do we have any?
We do not.
To the board? Thank you, Aaron. I see none. We'll move along with item 2A, which is a public hearing and order on resolution in the matter of adopting the fiscal year 2023-24 supplemental budget number 2. I do have a script which I'll follow intact. Budget number 2, making, reducing, and transferring appropriations, and it is order and resolution number 2312-12-01. And we'll begin with a summary from staff. Mr. Morkaisi, we all know Ms. Moody, but I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll just say this is supplemental process is the fourth step in the budget process. We have the county administrator's proposed budget that you typically receive in early May. The budget committee then approves the budget by the end of May, and then in June the commissioners adopt the budget. After the adoption, we do 4 supplementals, and this is to amend the budget throughout the course of the year as we receive as revenues are received in ways that are different maybe from what was anticipated, or there are new expenses that were not anticipated during one of those previous 3 steps. So we do four supplementals. This is the second supplemental, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Moody to walk through it for you.
Thank you, Steve. And I'm actually with me is Kevin Mahoney. He's a senior management analyst in the budget office, and he has done the work to put this item together. So he's actually going to provide the summary for you today.
All right. Good morning, Commissioner Farr, Vice Chair Traeger, and Commissioners. So summary of what you see in this budget. You'll note that there's quite a bit more funds being touched in this one. That's related to all of the fund balances being adjusted. Just timing-wise, when we formulate the budget, it's still during the year, and so by the time we get to the point where we know what the actuals are, this is the time of year where we would adjust those. So every fund's actuals are being adjusted, every fund's fund balances are being adjusted to the year-end actuals. Another thing to highlight, the Community Correction Act and Justice Reinvestment Initiative funding shortage. You will see expense reductions in both the Special Revenue Fund as well as the General Fund for CJRS and the Sheriff's Office. There is also a one-time increase in General Fund reserves being used to offset reductions that would have been higher as a result of that. There is a net change of FTE of 0.3. The majority of the reduction in that is associated with that Community Correction Act and Justice Reinvestment Initiative in CJRS and the Sheriff's Office, and then there's also an increase in Health and Human Services related to community health center providers. And the public hearing today is we do have 6 funds that have changed by more than 10%. Most of those are related to timing of projects or things that are changing. A few of them, the American Rescue Plan and the Title III projects, are related to actual reimbursement requests or things that happen throughout the year. Significant changes in the capital fund are related to timing of projects, of what fiscal year they occur in, and then when the reimbursements are expected.
Excellent. I think we'll have a position for questions in a few minutes, Mr. Mahoney. Thank you very much for the presentation. At this time, I'll state that this is a public hearing on a supplemental budget for the current fiscal year budget as allowed under ORS 294.471 and ORS 294.473. This public hearing is required under ORS 294.473 due to one or more funds amending expenditures by more than 10% from current budgeted amounts. Notice of this hearing and summary of the changes was published as detailed in supplemental budget order and resolution included in this agenda item. Participants may testify for or against any item contained in the supplemental budget. At this point, I will open the public hearing and call for any testimony on the supplemental budget. I'm looking around and no one has signed up for testimony. Then I'll ask anyone in Harris Hall wish to provide testimony to the Board of Commissioners on the supplemental budget. Ms. Jones, anyone online?
No, Chair Farr, there is no one online.
Then I'll close the public hearing. And ask for any additional comments from staff before I call for questions from the Board of Commissioners. Ms. Mahoney? No additional comments? We covered it? All right. Very good. Then I'll look to the board. Any questions or comments? I'm seeing none. Vice Chair Trieger?
Chair, I'll move approval, I'll move approval of Order and Resolution 23-12-12-01 in the matter of adopting the fiscal year 23-24 supplemental budget number 2, making, reducing, and transferring appropriations.
I'll second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Order number 23-12-12-01. Discussion to the motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Then we'll move along to any emergency business. Ms. Markowski. Ms. Markowski, any emergency business?
No.
And to the board, I see none. We'll move down the agenda to public comments. And clarification, Tanya, I have two public comment sheets. One is for ordinance 2310, amending lane code to update administrative enforcement, which has sign-ups. The regular public comment has none. Is that a correct? Very good. Then public comment speaker will be taken in the order in which they sign up and limited to a 3-minute per public comment. If you wish to submit written comment, please send an email to dianajones@lanecounty.or.gov no later than the noon of the day before the meeting. At this point in time, I see no one signed up for regular public comment. Does anyone in Harris Hall wish to provide comment during the regular public comment period to the Board of County Commissioners? And I think I'll go to this list. And is this Keith Batt? Then I'm just going to change the title of this sheet to regular public comment. Thank you. We had 3 public comment sheets, So under regular public comment, we have 2 people signed up. Then Keith Baskett will be followed by Heidi Ringus. Mr. Baskett, if you could step to the mic, identify yourself, keep an eye on the clock on the wall, which will be directly in front of you to my left, and that'll give you 3 minutes. Once you have identified yourself, the 3 minutes will begin.
You keep confusing me. I went for the 2-minute thing because I did 3 minutes last time. So now I have to do 2, so.
Well, it's
hopefully this
99.9% of the time. Well, that's probably an
All right.
exaggeration, but.
Okay, my name's Keith Baskett, and last time I was here, I spoke a little bit about the mess under the bridge by Armitage Park under the Mackenzie River in Heather's area. And once again, I drive by it every single day. We had a few of the folks on Mackenzie View Drive have been on the TV talking about it, showing pictures, et cetera. We've called the county. It's just a mess. We're not sure what to do with it. We're looking for someone to help us with it. It's just a disaster. And seeing them dump raw sewage in the river is just disgusting. And I don't know what to do. They're not even supposed to be there. They broke a barrier. And we put huge rocks down there. And they're everywhere. It's a disaster. That's that part. Okay, now my personal story. To continue from last time, I purchased a piece of property on the land on Mackenzie just east of Armitage, about 3/4, end of 2016. My goal was to build a small home and retire, as I've been an active business owner in Eugene for over 30 years. Before I purchased, I did my due diligence and determined with work it could be done. The property is completely in a floodway, but several sections are well above the 100-year flood level. So with help from an international hydraulic engineering company, we came up with a plan that works. Before I did anything, I went to the county and told them exactly what I was going to do. I said, before I spend tens of thousands of dollars on the planning and app, would the road be a factor? A little small easement, a little driveway that only I use that goes between 2 farms out to the property. And I thought, does it have to be built up above the 100-year flood level to make a dam? It wouldn't work. It would stop the whole project. We spoke to the county at length. They told us that would be crazy. Nobody would expect that. And they said, let us get back to you. We'll ask the head planners and get back to you. 2 weeks later, I got it. You're good to go. Everything's fantastic. We would never require that. So I said, okay, great. Start step 1. I then proceeded to hire consultants, several retired head planners that worked for the Planning Commission for over 30 years, surveyors, engineers, and of course, land use attorneys, to show that I could build a home very safely on my property. I filed an app 6 months later, and after another 6 months through the planning, I was finally approved. They stamped it approved and said, you're all set to go. I started preparing to file all my permits, but oops, a late appeal that they've never let before. They allowed it by a week and a half, and they've never allowed it before, and they would never allow me to be late. They allowed in, and it stopped the plan. So they've still never explained to me through the county what happened. So now I had to answer the appeal. It was all answered except for one little part, the road. The same road, the same little driveway, the same piece of property that they just told me, and I had emails all explaining to me that it was never a factor. They stopped the whole application, all my money, almost $40,000 worth of cash on exactly what they just told me was fine. And this guy appealed it, and they stopped the whole process. So then I start a whole second round. We'll hear about it next Tuesday. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bescat. Heidi Ringus is the last person signed up in Harris Hall.
Hi, so, as you know, they keep accusing John of not complying, of never having permission. So, I'm here with a July 17th, 2013, structural building design, fire protection consult, from Mortier Engineering, very reputable company. The purpose of this review is to determine the safety features needed to allow the structure to be built as a 4-story residential building. I'm just going to read the important parts. One of the tenets of the latest proposal is to change the tall attic space created by the 12-12 pitch roof into habitable space. This new habitable space, called the attic annex, has the potential to increase the habitable floor space. Additional semi-conditions for floor space is proposed to be added by enclosing a previous outside deck in glass to create a conservatory or sunroom. This conservatory would be approximately 590 square feet. Okay, based on the definitions above, which were all definitions for story above grade plane and story, based on the definitions above, the plans, and the site visit, I classified this structure as 4 stories above grade plane. Then there's about taking out the basement, which was done, and then there is fire truck access and interest in life safety and the attic annex picture, okay? And then the fire sprinkler design. Current proposal is to increase this the structure was permitted under the 2000 Oregon 1 and 2 family dwelling specialty code, which limits construction to 3 stories. Current proposal is to increase this allowance to 4 stories based on alternate materials and methods substitutions using a provision from the OSSC. The OSSC section 504.2 allows an increase in the allowable number of stories by 1 for buildings which are equipped with fire sprinkler systems not to exceed 60 feet. Hello? The code that they keep using to vilify John actually allows for this with the installation of a fire sprinkler system. Now, if they would just let us put the proper fire sprinkler system in, had they just informed Jet Industries about which sprinkler system, because, you know, customer service is supposed to be their thing, and they're supposed to be giving excellent, how is it customer service to tell us it's not their job to inform Jet Industries which fire sprinkler system should go in? That's piss poor customer service, okay? I'm in the hospitality industry. I know customer service. So, yeah, and then it goes on about the fire sprinkler system and whatnot. But the other thing that I really, really wanted to read you was in lane code, between a memo that happened in a work session between public.
Thank you for your public comment, Ms. Ringus.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thank you for your comment. Heidi Ringus was the last person signed up in Harris Hall. Ms. Jones, do we have anyone signed up online for public testimony?
One moment, Chair Farr, let me verify. We do not. No one is signed up online.
Very good. Then I'll look around Harris Hall. Anyone else in Harris Hall wish to provide testimony to the Board of County Commissioners in a regular public testimony this morning? Seeing none, I'll close public testimony and turn it over to the Board of Commissioners for a response to public comments and/or other issues and remonstrances. The Commissioner Laval.
Yeah, I'll go first again. Thank you, Chair. Once again, thanks for coming and doing public testimony. Keith Basquette, you left me on a cliffhanger there. I mean, the 3 minutes came out, and I was almost ready to hear the other part of the story. So I encourage you to come back and give us the other part of the story. I do know that this Mackenzie Bridge issue has been something that's been across all of our desks for the last couple of weeks, and so I know there's a significant number of people trying to fix that. So I just want the public to know that there's environmental concerns and nuisance things that are going on, that our great staff is handling that. Sometimes it just takes a little longer because like this particular situation has got some varying borders and different kinds of jurisdictions, and so we're working that all out. So bear with us. I'm learning patience as you all are, and I thank you for coming again. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Commissioner Laval. Further comments or remonstrances? Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, just to follow on to Commissioner Lovall's comments, we did get a very specific, I'm sorry Mr. Basquette left, but maybe he'll watch this later online or email us and I can follow up, that not only is our staff working on it, but very specifically working both to get some temporary infrastructure, porta potties and dumpsters, while our encampment outreach specialist works to rehouse and find new locations for folks. And in particular, just to mention, there are some folks there with some really severe physical challenges and disabilities, and also a veteran. So we're working very specifically with programs in the community, not just to move folks on, but to move them into appropriate, more supportive situations with the services they need for the long term. And then we can address the river cleanup issues. There are regular, ongoing, biweekly meetings on that issue. And as Commissioner Lovell said, sometimes things just take a little longer because it's a lot of coordination. But I wanted to put that out there for anyone else watching, that there's very specific and focused work going on that area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Further comments? Seeing none, I'll respond just ever so slightly to that. I've been working on that particular issue since probably early September. And, there are two pieces of property involved. One is Lane County property. The other is private property, which is under the ownership of the water district. It's the Muddy Creek Water District, I believe is their name. And the issue there is that the encampment is on private property. So any enforcement has to be in the hands of public safety. And so we have some difficulties there in assigning anyone to step down and talk to the people who are actually illegally encamping on private property. We can handle Lane County property fairly easily, and I think by January we expect to have some motion regarding the Lane County property. I still haven't heard exactly how we're going to handle the private property part of it. So I look forward to hearing more on that, Mr. Mokrasky. This concludes the Commissioner's response. We'll move along to the consent calendar. We have before us a consent calendar. It's a consent calendar for December 12, 2023. All items on the consent calendar are going to be considered by a single motion. Any single item on there that needed separate discussion would have been pulled from the consent calendar and discussed as a separate motion. So with that, Vice Chair Trieger.
Chair, I move approval of the consent calendar for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023.
Second?
The last consent calendar of the year.
Schedule, yeah, it is. I'd take a real serious act to change that, wouldn't it? Then we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, made by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Lovall. Discussion to the motion. I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And we'll move along to County Administration, item 7A, which is in the matter of presenting a draft fiscal year 24-25 to 28-29 Lane County Capital Improvement Plan. And Mr. Mokrasky, I'll turn it over to you, and I believe the same panel will be stepping forward.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Excited for this update. We have some changes to our capital improvement plan. This is a document that we started, goodness,
This is the
7
7th.
years ago? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a presentation. So we didn't have a capital improvement plan prior to 7 years ago. And this is, part of our effort really to identify what are the capital investments needed within our organization that we need to invest in: roads, bridges, facilities, parks, other needs, infrastructure needs that we have. And how do we pull all that together and plan appropriately for not just what is needed today, but what is needed over the course of the next several years? So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Moody, and then we have Michelle Stark and Kevin Mahoney again here from our budget office, who've done a tremendous job of advancing this work. So go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Farr, Commissioners. So we do have a PowerPoint that we're trying to get out. Just to kind of go through the document that you have in your agenda. So this is the draft plan. We prepare the draft before we go into budget season and then kind of test some of the assumptions and finalize things as we go through that process. So we'll come back to you in July with the final for you to adopt. But as mentioned, this is our 7th consecutive county-wide CIP. I will just mention, Public Works did have a roads and bridges CIP, but this, as Mr. Mokrahysky mentioned, is the county-wide, all departments putting forward projects. So the goals, plan to maintain our assets. As we know, our strategic plan talks about robust infrastructure. So making sure that we're identifying and planning and reporting on the things that we're doing in those areas. Slide. So in the document, you'll see 3 different types of projects. There are standard projects, which means they have identified funding and they finished their planning process and they're ready to go. Then we have pre-planning, which is not something you always see in a CIP document, but especially because it had been so many years with the county not having a countywide CIP, we wanted to see what was coming. So beyond the things that we definitely have planned and have money identified, we want to know, even if you don't have, even if it's years down the road, identify needs. So you'll see those pre-planning forms don't have quite as much detail, but give you an idea of what the needs are. And then community investments. After we had done a couple countywide CIPs, the board had identified where are we putting money, county funds, into projects that we don't own, capital projects that we don't own. And so then we started reporting on this community investment. So you have a section on community investments as well. So just some, the types of projects, summary of the types of projects you'll see. Facilities, which is buildings and parking lots, anything related to the fleet system. So this isn't the vehicles themselves, but it's the system. Parks, you'll see a lot more in parks in this plan, given the levy that was passed, so they have more funding to be able to do more of their capital projects. Roads and bridges being the largest one in the plan, technology systems, and then waste management if there's anything related to the landfill and transfer stations. There are 127 projects included in the CIP, with 41 of them standard, 83 pre-planning, and then 3 community investment projects. And then we just have some graphs here for you to kind of show you the magnitude of each category. So as I mentioned, roads is the largest category, followed by facilities. And then we have parks with that levy funding, allowing them to be more, and then solid waste does have something. And this is the standard forms, not the pre-planning forms. So this is on your standard, ready-to-go things. And just another way of seeing it here by type. So you'll see over the 5-year period of the plan, which categories have identified projects. And this will look different when we come to you with the final plan, especially for roads as they do their planning out further and finalize things. They will have additional things out into the whole 5-year span. But being the draft plan, they're still developing some of those. And the funding sources, it's a myriad of funding sources. We have a county capital improvement fund that many of our departments pay into in order to reserve funds for capital needs. The road fund manages the roads and bridges. Sometimes the general fund is involved in various projects. There are user fees, state and federal grants, and then other funds and revenue. So basically any mix that we can find to get the capital projects done, we piece those together. The thing that we will note is that when we come back to you with the adopted plan, you will also give delegated authority to the county administrator to sign contracts related to specific road and bridge projects. But that's the only group of projects that is covered by that. The rest of them do come to the board for individual approval. And then, as I mentioned, the link to the budget process is we start this draft before we start the budget, and then they will finalize building the budget and reconcile it to annual expenses. So just talking about how we start this in November, bring it to you every December, and budget kickoff starts in January, as I think you're all aware. And so we're looking here, bringing you the draft to see if you have any comments, questions, changes that you would like to see. This is, like I said, where we talked about community investments being something the board wanted to see in the past, so we're open for any comments. conversation that you want to have about the plan.
Excellent. Anything from Ms. Stark or Ms. Mahoney? Nothing? Okay, good. Then I'll look to the board for questions, comments. Vice Chair Trieger.
Real rational business kind of sense for the county to continue where we're going and how we can make it better. So I'm excited to see where we go from here, even in an environment where we're trying to, pinch pennies and look for quarters in the sofa. So anyway, thanks for doing what you do, and we'll continue to dream big with this project planning summary.
Commissioner Buck.
I've always been really impressed with the capital improvement plan. It's been very thorough, but if anybody wants to know what we're working on in this, capital kind of department of the county, this is the go-to document. But the public doesn't really get a chance to see it, really. And because it does provide some hope of what's happening and good things that we're doing at the county, we need to find ways to more publicly engage the community with some of these wonderful programs that we're doing. I know sometimes when one actually is getting underway, then there might be a particular newsletter that goes out, but it's not a holistic view of the entire system and all that we're doing at the county. I don't know a better way to get this in front of people because, paper-wise, it's pretty thick. But it does show all the work that we're doing, and I think it's really important for the community to really be able to see it. So if there's any way to increase that engagement, or even go through, hey, this is all the things we're planning on doing in the next year. You never know if the media is going to pick it up, but it is something that people will probably have a larger awareness if we're able to really put it in front of them somehow. But you do great work throughout the year, and I always do look forward to going through this document and being able to actually check off, the good projects that we're getting done. Thank you.
See no further discussion. I have a capital improvement plan myself. It includes a roof and a new fence. I bought our house 25 years ago, and they're both due this year. So anything else you'd like to add from staff? Ms. Moody?
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just a comment too to the future thinking. We have, obviously the budget office coordinates this document, but it's the departments, there's committees involved in each category. There are some citizens on those committees, various committees, so they hear about it there. But because we bring it, you're not hearing from the individuals planning these projects. So I have thought, and so maybe your feedback on this about when we bring the final plan to you, actually having a little more presentation for you from each category, where those managers that are running those programs could come in and talk more about them. And like you said, maybe it would get picked up. And then maybe just to talk about the future of the plan. I talked a lot about the plan. What I didn't talk about was the two individuals who really ran the plan this year and put it together, and they are both fairly new in the budget office, so they haven't even been here a year. And I said, hey, would you like to take on this project, learn the software that you barely know, learn about our CIP, put it into this new software that we upgraded, and get this process moving better for our departments. And so they took that on without hesitation. They planned meetings with departments, trainings, developed instructions, put together the document. It looks much the same as what you've seen in the past, but it was not built the same. It's using a software with reporting, and also in our software, we will now be able to see the 5 years. So that's something that then we can report back to you on what actually happens, because we will pull actuals in. So they've done amazing work in their first year. And as the board is aware, we have some core behaviors that we look for in our employees: the passion to serve, driven to connect, and focused on solutions. And so I would like to recognize both Michelle and Kevin today for their focus on solutions. They took this on and made it happen, and it really does save a lot of hours. It might not seem really glamorous to the public when they see the same document, but it makes a big impact internally. So.
And I really appreciate Commissioner Lovell and Commissioner Buck's comments and the time you took to sort of call this out. Because it can be a little bit dry sometimes. It's like, the budget documents are not always the most exciting, but it's really important work. Appreciate you making the distinction that this isn't a budget, it's a planning document. So it does, but it's really intended to think about, okay, what are those things that we need to make investment, even if we don't have the resources right now. It helps us call that out and recognize, hey, we have to go out and find those resources because we have a lot of needs out there. So it's a really important planning document for us as an organization and for our community to understand. And I want to also just note, I don't know if any of you had an opportunity last year or this year at the Association of Oregon Counties Conference to connect with anyone from Washington County. Now, Washington County is, I think, the second largest populated county in Oregon. The resources they have compared to Lane County far exceed Lane County's. And yet they were in the process. They have a great administrator, Tanya Angie, and their board members were there. And they talked to me, and I think they hit up a few of you about our capital improvement plan. They said, we don't have a capital improvement plan in Washington County. We really need to get one, and we saw you have one. It's a really good one. How can we learn from you? I thought, well, that's great that Washington County is, learning from us in the work that we're doing here. So we have fewer resources to do the projects maybe they have up there, but at least we're planning for that work. And so just so appreciate what Michelle and Kevin have done this year in particular to take that sort of initial body of work and really advance it and make it even more powerful for us as a guiding resource to plan for work that we need to do in the future. So thank you both.
To hand them both
The coins, yes, all right. I was wondering if there were going to be coins involved.
Here's the coin.
Can you hold them up? What do they say? Michelle, can you read that?
To improve lives since 1851, focused on solutions.
There you go. I'm going to focus on this.
Congratulations.
Perfect. Well, congratulations. Those coins are not easy to come by. Excellent. Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations. The comments of my two colleagues and then the administrator have me thinking, one, I just want to say, while Washington County may not have the same or have more resources, one of our greatest resources as an organization is our staff. And so we actually committed the resource of these two folks and under Christine's leadership, and I'm sure many, many others. And so that was a great call to spend that resource on this plan. But it also made me think, well, as you said, it's not a budget document, it's so referential to the budget and vice versa. So the idea of coming back to us, as was mentioned, if it makes sense to maybe make part of that presentation the leverage piece. That's always my one of my focus areas when I'm looking at the budget. And you have the sheet that shows what do we leverage by this investment or what does it cost to spend this. And I think that's just such an important piece of it's how we get things done, right? There's almost nothing that we just completely, fully generate the revenue for and then fund. We're always leveraging private dollars, other public dollars, other benefit or inefficiencies that saves money somewhere. And then particularly with the community projects, the community is leveraging our resource and position as a local government. So I think that, to me, that's the connective tissue between these projects and this plan and the budget is the leverage piece. So however that makes sense to you to bring that forward in that presentation would be really helpful. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Vice Chair Trigger. And I'll add to that. You mentioned that a number of the areas in the capital improvement plan have an associated citizen involvement committee. And when we have the presentations, bringing the committee forward to let them know that their work is both appreciated, listened to, and enacted upon. I think we don't always do the best job of that at Lane County, of letting the committees know that their work is well received and that it really is integral in the decision-making process. Thanks very much. Anything further? Well, thank you very much. 166 pages and more to come. I love it. Then we'll move quickly down the agenda. I see some folks are in the room already for items 7C, so we'll do item 7B, which is Order 23-12-1207, in the matter of recommending a Lane County Commissioner to the Board of Directors of the Association of Oregon Counties for the 2-year position, reserved for member counties with populations over 250,000 population or more. And Ms. Mokraski, I believe Steve Adams is with us to give us a brief description.
Thank you, County Administrator. Chair Farr, Vice Chair Trieger, Commissioners, good morning. It's my pleasure to join you this morning. You may recall perhaps April when last we had the opportunity to brief you on this particular item. It's related to the appointment for a reserve seat on the Association of Oregon Counties Board of Directors. Because of the size of Lane County, we're larger than 250,000 in population. We have a reserve seat available to us on the Board of Directors. Previous conversation before the board really kind of directed staff to stand by for a period of time, and as we are kind of doing some of the housekeeping for the end of the year, we noted this was an item that was worth bringing back to you. So I am here to answer any questions the board may have about this appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, and I'll look for questions from the board before I call on Commissioner Trieger for a motion. I see none. Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Before I make a motion on the order, I know we need to designate a representative from this board to insert in that motion order. And so my thanks to you and the staff for your patience on this, and to AOC Director Nichols for hers as we work through our process and sort out everyone's calendars and schedules. And with that, I would like to nominate Chair Farr, Commissioner Pat Farr, to serve as the Lane County representative on the Association of Oregon Counties Board for a 2-year position.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. That is order number 2312-1207. Discussion of the motion. I'm seeing none. Then
I just want to make sure you actually are interested.
I didn't hear any rebuttal.
No rebuttal, but just make sure.
at this point, yes. Yeah.
Well, then with that, I will move Order 2312-12-07 in the matter of recommending Lane County Commissioner Pat Farr to the Board of Directors of the Association of Oregon Counties for the 2-year position reserved for member counties with populations of 250,000 or more.
Same second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trigger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ooh. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Aye, nay, and ooh. Are those the three options?
Aye with an asterisk. Very good. Then, Mr. Mokrasky will move down the agenda to Order 2312-1209 in the matter of reporting on the Goodwill Industries of Lane County Goodwill Industries of Lane and South Coast Counties tax-exempt bond issue approval and setting a public hearing request pursuant to IRS Section 147F, which will have a public hearing to be scheduled at this point on January 9th, 2024. And Mr. Mokrasky.
Thank you, Chair.
And thank you, everyone, for the patience in bringing this forward and the diligence that brought us to this point. Thank you, Lauren. Please go ahead.
Yes, this was an assignment from last week. It's coming forward so quickly, and this is the update, so you're not actually having the public hearing now. The request is to ask you if you would like to have the public hearing. So Lauren Blythe, our Director of Operations, and Emily Vario from County Council will walk you through this item. I think I'll just let you, if I have any additional comments, I'll offer those, but why don't you walk through it?
Steve. Chair Farr, Vice Chair Trigger, Commissioners, good morning. Lauren Blythe, Director of Operations, Emily Vario, County Council. We also have some folks available online should there be questions once we get through the presentation of this. As Steve indicated, this is a follow-up from an assignment last week. The board was contacted by Goodwill Industries of South Lane or of Lane and South Coast Counties in early December regarding a request for a public hearing and board approval for issuance of revenue bonds in accordance with Internal Revenue Service Code requirements 147F and the Tax Equity, Fiscal, and Responsibility Act of 1982, referred to as TEFRA. Goodwill, as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, qualifies for tax-exempt bonds under that IRS code. The bonds are in an amount of not to exceed $25 million, with $13 million for the purpose of financing and refinancing and property acquisition and capital improvements of facilities in Lane County. The remaining portion is for similar activities for facilities in Anchorage, Alaska. IRS requirements call for a public hearing with a 7-day notice. notice period and approval of the bond issuance by an applicable elected representative of the governmental unit having jurisdiction over the area in which the facilities are located. In this instance, and for the purpose of IRS requirements, this board is the applicable elected representative. Staff have consulted with county council as well as Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, Lane County's bond counsel. And council has provided that should the county decide to proceed with the public hearing and approval of the bond issuance, the county is not obligating itself to be involved with the bond issue in any other way, whether that be as issuer, payer, or in any role overseeing the projects or the bond issue. Should the board approve today's order, staff would return on January 9th, I believe at a 1:30 p.m. time certain for the public hearing, along with an order for approval of bond issuance. We have counsel available, both Emily as well as Golgan Uger from Delafield, or from Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, and Jim Martin, a CEO of Goodwill Industries, available for if there are should there be any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Blythe. I'll look around, any questions from the board? And just a reiteration of what you stated, there's no county fiscal or financial obligation. That's all on this.
Chair Farr, that is correct.
We're just the approved body for carrying the issue forward.
That is correct. And a similar process was conducted in Anchorage, Alaska, I believe last Tuesday, December 5th, for the counter portion of this.
I'll look to Ms. Uger online. Anything that you need to add, if you'd like to add?
No, I'm really here as an advocate for you all and as someone who does this kind of practices in this realm routinely, just as a resource in case you have questions. You know, the thing I would want to know if I was in your shoes is that this is a really routine request in order to meet this, narrow requirement in the Internal Revenue Code.
And that last thing you stated is extremely important. It's a routine request, even though it's certainly not routine for Lane County. I think it's maybe the first time that we've gone through this process in Lane County, but it's a common practice, typically for the state, I believe, is usually the carrier of this.
Right, yeah.
Very good. Then any further questions? Then Vice Chair Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move approval of Order 23-12-12-09 in the matter of reporting on the Goodwill Industries of Lane and South Coast Counties tax-exempt bond issuance approval and setting a public hearing request pursuant to IRS Section 147F with a public hearing scheduled for January 9th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. time certain.
Second.
Excellent. Moved by Vice Chair Trigger and seconded by Commissioner Lovell. We have Order 23-12-12-09. Discussion to the motion. I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. While you're walking to the back, look across the street. I forgot to mention, that is Lane County Farmers Market, which is soon to be an active hub of year-round produce supply. Then we'll move along to item 7D, which is announcements from the county administrator, Mr. Mokrasky.
Thanks, Chair. And I have two. I would otherwise defer these because our staff is waiting, but I actually am glad that Human Resources and County Council staff are here for these two updates. The first one, Mr. Adams had to leave, our policy director, but I wanted to call this one out. Really pleased that we have been awarded a $500,000 community development block grant from Business Oregon to fund the Regional Housing Rehabilitation Loan Program that's administered by St. Vincent de Paul. This is really significant when you understand the history here in Lane County that this is the first CDBG is the Community Development Block Grant, the first CDBG application that we have submitted and been successful for in 15 years, since 2009. There were some challenges previously that put us in sort of a non-compliance situation. We had a lot of work, as the board recalls, over the course of the past year. We brought forward a number of items during 2023 to put us in this situation to allow for us to apply and be successful. So I just say a little bit about this $500,000, that this grant will enable the repair of up to 19 homes, including manufactured homes, particularly focused in the Oak Ridge and West Fur area for low-income I also just want to say that we have the ability to administer more than one CDBG award at a time, and our staff is already looking for opportunities to advance the board's strategic priorities and future applications. So I just want to take a moment and call out our policy team that if not for that team that we had in place, we wouldn't have had this focused effort. So, I'm always skeptical. People are like, oh, you got, these things will pay for themselves. Buy this technology, it'll pay for itself by savings on the other end. Like, you have to actually quantify that. And part of the goal of developing this policy team was that we would be more proactive in going after resources, leveraging resources to be able to invest in needs. And so here we have $500,000. We're back in compliance, and we have $500,000 that we're going to reinvest in the community in one of the board's top priorities, which is housing. So I want to thank our policy, Steve Adams and the policy team, county council staff, and others who have been involved in that work. So that's one silent round of applause. The second one we're really excited about is childcare. So this has also been an issue that the board has been concerned about, our community is concerned about, the business community, employers, our employees, our bargaining units have been. So we've really focused on employee wellness. We kind of had a reinvigorated effort around employee wellness. This is about investing in our employees, getting our employees healthy and well, and at work and productive and all those things. Also about managing our costs and making sure that, we're caring for the whole person and we're getting everything we can out of our employees. Well, this is a big challenge. Access to childcare in the community is a big challenge, and the cost of childcare is a big challenge. So I'm really pleased to announce that Lane County is entering into an agreement with a locally owned small childcare business that has not opened yet, is just now opening, to help address the childcare desert for both Lane County employees and the broader Lane County community. Lane County is partnering with Tip Tap Grow and investing $25,000, which supports the business in preparing to serve a larger group of children. Tip Tap Grow is expanding from 20 placements to 64 placements and may increase to as many as 84 placements in the coming year. Tip Tap Grow just received a Seeding Justice grant of $282,000, so they're leveraging those funds to support the growth of their business and to address the significant needs in the community. So Tip Tap Grow has a unique performing arts model that supports the growth and development of children. Lane County employees will have the option to request childcare services at the expanded center and will be prioritized for placements for 50 of the initial placements. Unused placements that our employees don't use will be made available to the public. Lane County employees will be offered the same tuition rates as the public. Some of the fees, however, will be waived as part of this pilot program. It's a pilot program for 1 year to increase access and to create a more stable entry level for costs for participants. Lane County sees this work as a step in the right direction to create additional childcare capacity and to learn how employers can support their staff, small businesses, and the broader community. So it's really like a trifecta of work. We're doing this as a pilot project to see how it goes, how much our employees engage in it, how much it provides additional access for other individuals, families, employers in the community. Because we know, what we've said is we don't want this to just, for Lane County to just open a child care facility on our own. That it's a big challenge for us to do. Hiring of that staff and training of staff is really difficult. And we don't want to just say that the only concern is our employees. That is a primary concern that we have. But it's also a broader community. So how do we really invest in both of those needs? This agreement, this 1 year agreement it's set to last for a year. It could be expanded in the future. The county's actively reviewing other opportunities to create triple wins for Lane County employees, the broader community, in need of childcare and for sustainable business development in the community. So January 3rd, 2024, I think they're going to do an opening, and we'd like to invite the commissioners, if you're able and interested, to attend. They're scheduled to open on January 3rd, 2024. So again, I want to thank really great work by our human resources team, our employee wellness group, our county council staff, and partners in the community to do that work. So I wanted to provide that last week, but really excited, last meeting of the year, to give you a couple pieces of great news. That's
You buried your lead, Steve. That is, wow, I am speechless. That is remarkable. After all the years of talking about it and moving in that direction, oh my goodness, and 50 places for Lane County employees initially.
Yeah.
Significant. Somebody needs to be lionized for this. Commissioner Buck.
I'm a little stunned because both of those things are such huge endeavors that clearly have been happening over the course of the year, if not longer. I am absolutely thrilled at both of them, knowing that people in Oak Ridge and Westford are going to be able to get huge renovations for their homes and not be displaced because of uninhabitable housing. That's huge. And to be able to be in the realm of being able to get awarded CDBG dollars again after so long is absolutely fantastic. I am so proud of our policy team, each and every one of them who've been working on this. And I'm super proud of everybody who's been working on the childcare issue, because I remember sitting down with HR in this past year going, okay, what can we do? And there wasn't necessarily time and effort for a dedicated person to be working on this. But people were pitching in with extra time they may have after they're done with their normal course of work to try to create something that's happened. And it's blossomed into 50 additional spaces for childcare for our employees. I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Thank you to everybody who's been working on both of those initiatives. It's huge.
So a further response to Mr. Mokraity's announcements, and there were two of them, to the board?
Just real quick, that's amazing work. I think that childcare is gonna pay great dividends later on. I mean, Brandy and I have finally made it to the point where our kids are self-sustainable, but man, I remember those days. So that's really exciting. That's a great announcement. Thanks, Steve.
Vice Chair Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just phenomenal. As people have heard me say many times, and they'll probably keep hearing me say it, care work, in this case childcare work, is the work that makes all other work possible. And so it's such a great investment, and it's such a great example of how Lane County can be a leader, and other communities can look to us to see how we did it, because this problem is not unique to Lane County, this childcare shortage. And I will just add, when the legislative team meets again, maybe we can talk too a bit about putting advocacy for expanded or more employee-related daycare investments at the statewide level, because that's really what we need, is that systems approach. So good for us for helping in our own backyard, but also we can use that. I think leverage seems to be the word of the day, to leverage support for more investments at the state level. Thank you so much, and thanks to everyone on the staff who worked so hard on both of these really critical initiatives. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Talk about critical timing. I mean, after the pandemic we went through and a lot of the people left the industry of childcare, we really found ourselves in a lurch. So, I mean, this is awesome that we've, figured out a way to move the needle back to where it should be. So congratulations, everybody. And I'm sure the people that are going to work for us and know that their kids are safe and that they're in a good place and they're learning are going to also work for Lane County that much better. So good job.
Well, nothing I can add regarding childcare, Ms. Mark. Years ago, when I was in the legislature, I was also on the Oregon Child Care Commission. And even that long ago, we saw the impending crisis in childcare. So I think it's pretty, just remarkable. More to come on that.
Yeah.
Regarding CDB, go ahead.
No.
And regarding CDBG, it's fantastic to see the county finally re-involved in CDBG. My first 8 years on the Eugene City Council, which concluded in 2002, the county and the city worked together on issues, pretty frequently on CDBG issues, particularly surrounding housing. And to get back in that arena is, the future is bright on that. So thank you for the fantastic announcements, Fairwin, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to call out, we have employee resource groups are something that we've started to allow to be created. We have a structure for that, and we have these are groups of employees that come together around a common interest or identity. And we have an employee resource group around childcare. And to your point, Commissioner Lovell, it was created right around the pandemic, during that time where it was like, this growing need in the community, and we talk about I think I mentioned the childcare desert. And so that employee resource group has been really, they meet regularly and they talk about where's their challenges and opportunities and access in the community and what we need, and then they advocate and have provided and really been partners with us. So these are our employees that are actively engaged in this concern and this issue and helping to inform decisions and push for decisions around these things. So I want to call out that group of employees who've also participated as part of our employee resource group. Yeah, a lot more to come on those things. Appreciate this is a fun part of our job. We get to celebrate the great work of our staff in the organization. So we have another item coming up here that we'll, I think, get to ask the board for action on and hopefully feel good about.
Right on. And Steve, you may hear an assignment later on in the day regarding more insight as to how we came to the point regarding childcare. But, with that, any further comments from the board? Then we'll move down the agenda to item 8A, which is Order 2312-08, in the matter of approving the tentative agreement between Lane County and American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, physical unit. And Mr. Mokrasky, I'm going to ask you if you would introduce your panel, whom we all know.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, we have 8 bargaining units in Lane County, and it's constant work to be negotiating and making sure that we're partnering well with our various bargaining units to reach agreement on really critical wage benefit and working condition matters. And we have an incredible team on the county side, and we're fortunate to be able to work with an incredible team, in this case in the AFSCME physician side. So presenting to you this morning, of course, Inga Wood, who is our Labor Relations Manager, Assistant County Counsel Andrea Nagels, and our Senior Labor Relations Analyst Kristen Mayfair, who will give you an update on what's been a really long negotiation process. And we have a tentative agreement here for you, and we're excited to present that and have successful resolution to this bargaining process. So, Inga?
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Good morning, Chair Farr, Vice Chair Trieger, and Commissioners. As Steve said, we are pleased to bring before you today the tentative agreement for a collective bargaining contract between the county and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also known as AFSCME Physicians Unit. This unit is small, yet mighty. It represents currently 8 employees. Following the priorities, goals, and objectives that were established by you, the board, the county's bargaining team began successor contract negotiations with AFSCME in the spring of this year. The total estimated additional cost for the proposed contract changes before you is $1,323,602 over the 3-year period of the contract. And I am going to allow Kristen Mayfair to highlight the financial considerations reached in the tentative agreement, and then Andrea will talk a little bit about the language changes.
Thanks, Inga, and good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. The estimated cost that Inga identified consists of a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, with a 3% in the first year of the agreement, which is the current fiscal year 23-24, and 2% increases in both years for 2 and 3 of the contract. It also established new provisions for on-call to compensate physicians similarly to how we compensate nurse practitioners and physician assistants when also taking those on-call duties. It also includes reimbursement for additional professional membership related to their licensure. We have collapsed the wage scale so that there is only one step per classification to be set at what is the current step 9, the top step of the salary scale. Along with the single step for the base wage, the physicians have agreed to participate in system modifications that will increase their minimum patient panel sizes, prorated by their FTE, over the next 3 years. These efforts will increase access for people in our community who are currently not being served in our community health centers. Accomplishing these panel sizes will be a collaborative effort between the managers of the community health centers, the physicians, and clinic staff. In recognition of the increase to patient panels, physicians will receive an additional 2% to base wages in the first year of the agreement, this current fiscal year, and another 1% in the second year. Additionally, all physicians have the opportunity to earn additional compensation by participating in efforts to increase patient panels beyond the stated minimums. For each additional 50 patients on a physician's panel, they will receive $5,000 annually, paid out on a quarterly basis. And now I'll turn it over to Andrea to provide a summary of some of the language changes.
Thanks, Kristen, and good morning, Commissioners. The county's bargaining team worked with AFSCME to provide clarity to some of the contract provisions and also establish some new provisions for the contract language. Among those changes, language was added regarding the exchange of information between AFSCME and the union in order to comply with House Bill 2016. There were some provisions that were added to clarify military leave and practices surrounding that, and also we added language to make sure that the county was in compliance with the new laws that have been in place for paid leave Oregon. Language was added to clarify that the county will cover the costs of 2 professional organizations per physician, and also to assist with recruitment efforts for these hard-to-fill positions. We agreed to provide new physicians to the unit with a time management bank of 40 hours at the time of hire.
The parties have reached a tentative agreement for a 3-year contract that will expire on June 30th of 2026, and the AFSCME membership has voted to ratify the agreement. The county's bargaining team supports the recommendation of approving the tentative agreement. And I would just really like to take a moment to thank everyone who participated in the negotiations process, including the AFSCME team, which was Dr. Andrew Morrison, Dr. Audrey Wen, President Larisse Rivera, First Vice President and Chief Steward Jen Maurer, and Council Representatives Jim Steiner and Sarah Lanius. And from the county team, Andrea Nagels, Carrie Crabtree, Lisa Willis, Dr. Richard Brunader, Christine Moody, Sarah Halverson, Eliza Kaczynski, James Trujillo, Eve Gray, and Kristen Mayfair. And with that, we'll turn it over to the board if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. I'll look to the board for questions and comments, but first I'll mention that Director Holmes is online with us also. Dr. Holmes, thank you for being here. And Dr. Brunader, good to see you with us in the audience. And Ms. Willis, congratulations on your recent appointment. And you're now the Assistant Director in charge of FQHC and CHC. So good to have you with us today. To the board for questions and comments. Commissioner Sinegal.
Yeah, just like to take a second and also thank everybody for how hard they worked. I know you guys had to go back and forth on this a couple of times, so thank you very much. This one's for Kristen. I missed the 50 patients, so that's a 5,000 paid out quarterly, and that's 50 patients a year then, or is that per?
It's for each additional 50 patients above the stated minimum. So right now, for the year 1 of the agreement, their patient panel size is going up to 1,225. So if they say, I want to go beyond that, I want 1,275,
Gotcha.
The systems would change so that we would take efforts to get them to that panel size. And then as long as that is sustained through their efforts of making sure that no one's dropping off their panels, then they would receive an additional $5,000 annually for that 50 patients. But there's no limit on the number of groupings of 50 patients. So somebody could ask to have their panel size set at 1,400 and they would receive additional compensation accordingly.
Oh, okay, thank you. That seems,
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice
it seems like we accomplished our goal there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Trigger, followed by Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone out there too. It takes a village to ratify a contract, right? Listening to that long list of names. And just to follow on to Commissioner Sinegal's question, I think all of us in conversation moving toward this moment were especially focused on the underutilization of the resource of our FQHCs. And, healthcare access for years has been a hot topic in the community, but particularly with the closure of the University District Hospital. There's more and more conversation about where and how is healthcare being delivered and to whom, and who is most often left out of access to care. So everything and anything we can do to incentivize providers to provide more care, and that's from the physicians who we're talking about today all the way down to the folks who prepare the room for the physicians to do their job and so on. I'm all for it, so I love this incentive piece in particular, and look forward to hearing any other ways we can leverage the platform of our office to help the community understand this primary care resource that's available to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to take a moment and thank each of the 8 people that are in the physicians unit. They do incredible work for our entire community. And I thank them personally for that work. I realize that this is a fairly decent change for them to be going through in a structure and compensation. And I appreciate the willingness to move this forward and see how it works out, because it's all really, the bottom line is being able to see more people in our community, and I know that's what they want to do as well. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Buck. Commissioner Lovall.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, anytime in business you get people that are willing to put out a little bit more effort to help the people that they serve, and the people that they serve get benefit for that, that's a win-win. So good job on that, and I'm glad that we can push forward a win-win for both the people we serve and those that are providing the service. Good job.
Thank you, Commissioner. And, as Vice Chair Trigger said, it takes a community. A large number of people went into lots and lots of hours of discussion to come to this agreement. So, Deputy Counsel, thank you for the work that everybody did to bring this to us this morning. Even if you have a great healthcare plan through your employer, it's difficult to find a PCP. Recently, I tried to set an appointment with my PCP for kind of a routine thing, and so, well, we have a date in February. But, so I think we experienced that throughout our community, that it's difficult to see someone for medical assistance. This is a huge step in the direction of helping more people get more immediate medical care. Bravo to everybody involved. Vice Chair Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. I will move approval of Order 23-12-12-08 in the matter of approving the tentative agreement, or is it still tentative? The agreement between Lane County and AFSCME Physicians Unit.
I'll second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trigger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. We have Order 23-12-12-08. Discussion to the motion. I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Bravo again. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for this morning. Just kidding. Mr. Mokrajski, this is going to be a fun one, I think, with also some challenges. So we have a report on Lane County Parks Local Option Levy update. Mr. Mokrajski, I'll ask you to introduce your panel.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Brett Henry, our Parks Manager, is here. Do you have a presentation you're going to pull up?
Yeah, I can figure out how to pull it up.
And this is an update on the Parks Levy that was approved by voters. A lot of work that has happened and continues to happen to implement that work, so.
Thank you, Steve. So this is the second quarterly update I've provided the board, and I want to continue this process as we move through and make sure that you guys understand what we're doing and really can kind of follow along as we work through this process. So as we get our slide up there, sharing the screen. Okay, perfect. Appreciate that. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, this past November of 22, a 5-year local option levy was passed for Lane County Parks, and I want to make sure that I'm informing the public as well as the commissioners and elected officials of the progress of that levy. And so what's important to know is that the funding doesn't actually hit our books until December of this year. So we've been real antsy to get started, but this has allowed us some time to do quite a bit of planning around it, and I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise. So taking a look at what we're going to talk about today, I want to talk about the levy budget, and I've broken it down into some project categories, which is hopefully going to be easier to digest. And I want to talk about how we're prioritizing the projects, looking at some 7 specific criteria. And, you know, with all these projects that are going on at the same time, how are we tracking the progress, and how are we sharing that and making sure that we're on task? And lastly, I want to talk about sustainability and equity, which is a real important initiative with Lane County Parks, but especially with this levy. And we have a real wonderful opportunity to enhance our sustainability and our equity within our parks. So taking a look at the budget, so this slide kind of gives you a big overview of the 5-year budget. The estimate is $31.5 million. And so it's broken down into 4 project categories. With the 2 largest, you can see they're really substantially larger. And the reason this is we had a Parks Funding Task Force that gave us recommendations on how to distribute the budget. So this was really influenced, I believe, on the facility condition assessments that we had at the parks that showed that we have a significant amount of deferred maintenance. So we're really focusing on reducing that deferred maintenance by 2/3 over the next 5 years. And so you'll see this, the orange sliver and the green sliver, the largest. And so those are mostly capital projects. Restrooms, when we spoke with the public, are in need of repair or replacement. Trails in our facilities, we obviously want to improve those. And then our operations budget is in the green. The gray there is safety and access. And so, you know, obviously that's an important part of this. And we want to make sure that each project has that lens and that we're focusing on keeping our parks safe, having that security level. I'll talk a little bit more about some of those measures later on in the presentation. And then the last piece there is conservation and education. And so for this 5-year period, we're really focusing mostly on our deferred maintenance backlog and reducing that, but still having that sustainability lens. So breaking that down further, looking at the capital projects. So you remember that orange sliver that I showed you, that largest piece? I've broken it down into the various infrastructure pieces, you know, starting with paving and curbs, and you can see just how expensive that is. That's a little under $6.5 million. And that may not even be enough. We're looking at the prices nowadays, and we want to make sure that we have enough in the budget for the paving and curbs. Restrooms, as I mentioned earlier, the public definitely wants us to improve our restroom facilities. So a little under $2.5 million. In those other 4 project categories, I want to highlight waterway access. That's something that we really provide for the public better than anyone else, I believe, in the county. And I want to continue that relationship that we have with the Oregon State Marine Board. So we're looking at a minimum of 2 projects each year to enhance our waterway access. So I mentioned earlier the 7 criteria on how we prioritize these levy projects. And so it's kind of oriented in descending order, but all 7 of these are really important. So whenever we're looking at each project, we kind of weight it differently, you know. So health and safety for us is you know, that's paramount, right? So those things that were indicated in the deferred maintenance report through the facility condition assessments, we're addressing those health and safety issues first. We want to, again, I talked about our deferred maintenance and our long-term maintenance responsibilities. We want to make sure that we protect and maintain the structures. So, you know, increasing the lifespan of that infrastructure is going to be critical for us. First impression. So what do people see initially whenever they enter our parks, and, you know, what's their initial impression? You know, we always talk about how important that is, and we want to make sure that people can see the immediate results. And so especially in the first couple of years, we're going to focus on that. Again, protecting the natural habitats, having a sustainability lens, and that really starts with the planning and design of these projects, making sure that we're keeping that in mind. We want to remove barriers, and I want to talk about the equity lens there towards the end of this presentation. But it's not your typical thing. You think it's not just physical barriers or other barriers to access, economic barriers and cognitive barriers that I want to mention as well. And then, do we continue to provide the support facilities? And so this could be in interpretive educational programs and some other recreation opportunities. And so we want to make sure that either if we're not providing as Lane County Parks, that we're supporting the other organizations and agencies in allowing that recreation to continue within the county. And lastly, we don't want to add a lot of new infrastructure, right? So if we are going to expand on existing infrastructure, we want to make sure that it generates positive revenue for us. So taking a look at, it's like, to me, the big challenge was, we're going to have multiple projects going on at the same time. And so breaking down each project into 6 stages, starting with the planning and design, going through the engineering and going through the construction phase, and then you close out a project, and then you're into the operations. It's not necessarily a linear process, but there are a certain number of stages within each project where you can dissect it and kind of see where you are in the project. And taking it a step further and looking at a dashboard, that really, that's kind of a Gantt chart is what we have up here, but it really allows you to see visually where you are within each stage and whose responsibility it is to complete a task. And so we can look at a particular project. Let's say we're looking at the Armitage Campground expansion project and see, okay, have we gotten through all the planning that needs to happen first? And okay, so now we're in the execution phase, but what is that going to take for us to continue to move this project forward, because you can get hung up. And a lot of times, like I said, it's not a linear process and you kind of go back and forth, but it's going to be important that we continue to monitor these projects and communicate where we are to the public, to the commissioners and elected officials, and, realistically, have our expectations in check. So what are some of the planned levy projects we have for next year? I want to start with the cooperative projects, which we're really excited about. If you go up the McKenzie River corridor, the Holiday Farm fire, devastated that region, and we really wanted to focus there upriver as much as possible. So, working with the McKenzie River Trust, their Finrock Reach property, they're redeveloping that park after the fire, and I think that's going to be a tremendous place where folks can launch. You can have a floating trip. It could be a nice destination point close to some other Lane County parks like Forest Glen, which is just a little bit downriver. We're talking about Blue River, that area that was just, really hammered by the fire. And that park there, it could add so much more to the community. So investing in that park, we want to at least look at adding a new restroom facility there. And then I need to mention the Discovery Center. So when we say the Discovery Center, most of you remember the old McKenzie Fish Hatchery. So that property is now being leased, and they're working on an interpretive center, and we want to give them some seed money to further that investment. And then as we get closer here to the Eugene-Springfield area, Mount Pisgah or Howard Buford Recreation Area, we have 2 very strong partners, the Friends of Buford Park and the Mount Pisgah Arboretum, and we want to continue to support those organizations in their efforts for habitat restoration and for environmental education. Brad Van Apple, the executive director, has really emphasized bilingual interpretive walks, and he has an excellent staff, and we're really excited to support that. And then pickleball. So we talked about recreation opportunities. We had more folks that came to our community meeting wanting pickleball than any other recreation activity, probably 3 to 1. And so we would be remiss not to have a small investment in that. So what are these objectives for the next year? And obviously, we start looking at the financial piece of it and ensuring that we have accountability. So the audit will be the first thing that we're really focusing on here in January. But from a project standpoint, we need to start with that ADA assessment and really get a baseline of what facilities need improvement to get to a certain standard, and then put together a transition plan. That is actually required by law, and that's something that we're behind on. So we really look forward to getting that information back and then being able to invest in that over the next 5 years. Again, I talked about those safety concerns. Security, that's a huge thing, especially when we talk about Howard Buford Recreation Area. You know, folks are getting their cars broken into, especially in the summer months, and it's almost a daily basis. And so having enhanced security out there, as well as security cameras, we want to throw everything at it. And we want folks to feel safe and secure at our parks. It's very important to us. Again, I talked about waterway access projects, and here towards the end of the presentation, I'll talk about one in particular, but we have a great opportunity to enhance access, not just for, you know, boaters, but for everyone to be able to experience not only our rivers and our lakes, but also our ocean, right? And so that with the beach access, that's really critical for us, and we have several parks that will allow for that. And again, you know, the capital projects, what we're hearing from the public is they want improved restrooms. You know, they want to be able to know that where they are, more about the park, so that interpretive part, the signage, consistent signage. Because you'll go to a lot of our parks and, you know, it's almost like sign blindness, right? There's so many signs everywhere without any real structure. So really having a consistent kiosk, I think, is just huge whenever you go to a park for the first time. Get out of your car and you want to know, what does this park offer me, right? And so that's going to be really important for us. And again, you know, the paving investment. And, you know, and that may not seem real exciting, but, you know, when you're talking about fresh pavement and striping and curbing, you know, that does mean a lot. And again, it kind of goes along with that access component. So sustainability, and we're talking about a couple of lenses that we really want to focus on whenever we go through the project design. Are there ways that we can minimize the disturbance to the natural habitat and to those cultural artifacts? Now, some of that, you know, will be taken care of through the regulatory compliance, right? The agencies that we go through, Army Corps of Engineers and the state agencies. But, you know, with parks, it's a little bit different in that, you know, I think we have an obligation to really protect that natural habitat, but also, you know, if there is a particular cultural feature, that's something that we can add into the interpretation of that park. So I think it can even enhance the park even more. So, again, it's very early on in those projects where we need to kind of do that careful planning. And then taking a look at the floodplain restoration. You know, we provide access to parks, and we have a lot of facilities that are in those riparian areas. So really focusing on, you know, the most sensitive habitat, and we have a couple projects in line to enhance that floodplain area. And again, you know, when we design a project, we want to use materials that are reusable or recyclable. We want to think about the materials that we're using and the disposal part of it. And so, and I know there's a big emphasis in reducing the amount that's going into the landfills, right? The materials. And so through a partnership with Breen Recycling, we believe that we can have something in place where anything that's salvageable will be salvageable, as well as just thinking about that initial design in those materials for when eventually we will have to go through construction again and disposal. And understanding that it's a process that, you know, not everything is going to be completely reusable, but there are some practices that we can implement moving forward where we can enhance that sustainability. Because, really, when you look at construction, you don't think about sustainability, but it does really impact that, and we want to make sure that we minimize that. So, along those lines of sustainability, conservation stewardship is really important to us. And, now we're going to have some investments as we think about electric vehicle charging stations. Where is another good location? And everybody asks us, how is the first charging station doing over at Howard Buford Park there in the Arboretum? And it's doing wonderful. And we have not had any issues there yet. Now, if we do have some issues, we want to take those into account. But the only issue we really had early on was, is this particular charger compatible with my setup? And so we wanted to make sure that we had that flexibility. And so we made a few adjustments, but overall it's gone very well. And so we want to look at other locations where we could add some charging stations. And this also gives us a really good opportunity to leverage grant resources. So we have a lot of funding there for match. And when we're talking about the invasive species removal and planting native vegetation, preserving our parks, I think this is going to be a good start to that. And if we are lucky enough to get that renewal, I think we can focus even more on that angle as we get through more of this deferred maintenance backlog. So at the last presentation, I mentioned that we've been working with Latifa Amato and in her real push towards an equity lens. And she's been wonderful to work with, and I didn't know how it was going to all mesh together, but it's really come along well. And thinking about, just the planning of projects and, are we taking into account all the barriers to access that exist currently? So taking that lens and put it into full focus, you'll see a picture there. That's David's chair, and we're really excited about that project. So this allows folks that never had the capability of getting out there to the beach, to the water, to the ocean's edge, now have that opportunity through this partnership we have with David's chair. And so we have places like Casita Beach in the North Jetty. And if anybody's ever been to North Jetty, you realize it's quite a hike to get to the beach. And so we want to offer that easier access for folks who want to reserve these chairs and get out there and experience the ocean. So this equity survey, and so we want to close it here in December, and I talked a bit about it in the last presentation, but what we're looking at are these four main barriers to access. So not just physical, but also socioeconomic and cognitive and the cultural barriers. And so I'll talk about each one a little bit more, but we want to get those results and how do people feel about our parks and those barriers. And so that allows us to focus our investments and to see, okay, where are we lacking, but also to see, okay, are there some of these particular barriers where we're not getting enough information? And then we can follow up with some organizations, some groups, and make sure that we're keeping those, keeping those in mind as well. And, maybe something we're not getting through the survey, we'll continue to follow up. After that, we're going to have a workshop. So we're going to workshop it. We're going to talk about what we've learned and then how we can apply that to the future projects as we move through it. And so I know that we have the Equity Public Survey on there twice, but that's really what's going to allow us to make these decisions, these informed decisions. And by knowing what people are experiencing, because it's not just like you or I going out there and making our assumptions. It's really, it's difficult for us to walk in their shoes, or to live their experiences. And so to get that testimony is going to be really important and will allow us to make better decisions. And so I want to report back to the commissioners when we're, when we have this information and when we're going through this workshop, and get some feedback from all of y'all, so you can then, be a part of this. And, and I think that this just gives us a tremendous opportunity to enhance our parks in a whole different way. In that, most of the infrastructure was put into place 30 or 40 years ago, but now we can really start anew and think about those things at a whole different level. So universal accessibility, so you'll hear about that quite a bit. And that means that it's not completely ADA accessible, but it, if we're looking at trails, for instance, the trails have a certain slope, have less barriers, have more resting areas, have a certain width to them, and surface material where they meet these standards. And so we are going to follow those standards to the best of our abilities, and we want to make sure that we communicate to the public so they know before they go out to our parks that, hey, this is a facility where I can take my wheelchair and I can see something unique. And so really the emphasis of all this, what got us inspired was there were two presentations. There's one from Taylor Bowden from the University of Oregon. And so she was working on her graduate thesis and really wanted to look at inclusion and from a bunch of different perspectives. But within parks, just going out to the Arboretum and asking folks and observing and getting more information about, do you feel welcome at this park? Is the information what you need? And so we got some valuable feedback with that. And again, talking about those barriers to access, there are some cultural barriers. And so if you're going to a park and people don't look like you or behave like you, you're not going to feel as welcome. So it's really important that we start thinking about that, not only in our staffing, but think about that in just, how we engage other marginalized groups. And so this is going to be really important. The second study was looking at the trail accessibility primarily in the Arboretum area. And so Liza Holtz was a graduate student with U of O back in the winter, I think, of 2022. And I said, well, is there a way that you could kind of assess our trails and tell us how close they are for universal accessibility and barrier-free? She said, sure, yeah, no problem. It sounds like a great project. So she's actually able to go out there and assess our trails and tell us what needs to happen to get to these certain standards. So already the Arboretum has put a loop in that's fully universal accessible, and they're planning a second loop, and then we're also planning a loop there in the North Bottomlands. So right away, we can go ahead and I think change these trails in a way that folks can assess them, can reach them, and can know about what are the potential barriers there. So it's almost like whenever you're planning a ski trip, you want to know, okay, how many of those green slopes are there, or how many of the blue slopes are there? And, before I go out there, I can plan, how long I'm going to be out there and where I'm going to go. And so we want to map our trails in that way so people understand that, there are different ability levels. So this is a look of a trail here that's universally accessible, and you can see how it has its various switchbacks, and it's wide, and it has a good flat surface. And so, this is a big emphasis for us, but going beyond trails, you can look at facilities and really understanding that universal access has a lot to do with when you drive to a park, you park, you get out of your car, you go to wherever you're going to go. All along the way, we have to think about accessibility, not just the destination, but the journey to wherever they're going. And so, again, water access is really important for us. And we have this unique opportunity here in the Arboretum. We've been working with Cameron McCarthy and doing some planning around this project. And through the levy, we'll be able to complete this project. And so what we're looking at is ADA water access all the way down to the water. So this would be the first, according to the Oregon State Marine Board, the first location that has complete ADA access on the Willamette River. So, this will be a standard, and, we're really excited about this particular project, and we want to keep you informed as we move through it. As I mentioned earlier, we got to start with the plan, so get that initial assessment. We want to see, is there a certain amount of fully wheelchair accessible facilities that we can add, to our park infrastructure? And one thing that's really exciting for me, I have a child who's neurodiverse, and in thinking about play structures, and not just from a physical standpoint, but also from a standpoint of some of that sensitivity that I know a lot of those kids have to sound and to touch. And so we want to really approach these play structures from that lens of, do we have something for everyone, right? And do we have something that's going to be easily replaceable and safe, and, where parents will feel comfortable, watching their kids out there playing our parks. And so, again, I was telling Dan yesterday that there are various wheelchair designs that we've learned that are better for some trail surfaces. So understanding more about that and some ways that we can rent those wheelchairs to folks who don't necessarily have that, and and they can actually experience more of the trails. So working with Arboretum, we're going to focus on those wheelchair facilities as well. So I don't know if I've gone longer than 20 minutes, and I wanted to make sure that I kept it within that time frame, because I know I'm kind of the last person here this morning. But I just want to keep you guys informed. There's an exhibit there in the packet which goes into more detail with the budget and with the projects this next year. And so I want to come back in February when we have those equity survey results and discuss that with you, and how it's going to be applied to the levy. And then I also want to go into more detail about some planned projects that we have coming up. We will be hiring our superintendent in January, and our superintendent will really help us with the capital project management, and we're really excited about getting him on board. We have a planner now and designer, and we have more of a complete staff, and so I'm really feeling excited about our capability to put out some wonderful projects. And so I'll continue to, as long as you guys will have me, come out here and give you a quarterly update of where we are. And then if you want more, I'm happy to do that as well. And of course, we will have an audit and an annual report. And at the end of the year, probably in November, we'll come out again and talk about that annual report and where we are. So thank you very much, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. When we gave this 20 minutes, I knew that we wanted a lot more time, and thanks for the very thorough presentation, particularly the last part of the presentation on access and equitability of access to the parks. We're all very excited about that, and I'm particularly excited about the Willamette River's first fully accessible water access.
I am too, and actually, we didn't know it was headed in that direction until we got further along in the design, and we saw that we had that potential there at that site. And so through working with the Oregon State Marine Board, and they've really put more of a focus on accessibility lately, they're thrilled that we have this opportunity, and now we have the funding through the levy where we can complete that project. So
there should be a lot of eyes on this as we move forward with that particular project. I'll look to the board for questions or comments. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to share how impressed I am with the clear implementation, design, and planning that you've gone through. I didn't realize that you have these software systems where you're really getting into tracking exactly where you are anytime during the year and the course, and knowing that you have really planned this out is so impressive. I know you have a passion for this. I know your whole team that you have and are probably going to continue to hire for, are doing wonderful work. And this tool that you're showing with the budgeting and the timelines, I think will really do wonders in the long run for reporting to us, but more importantly, reporting to the community. It's just operationalizing the work that has been placed in front of you, and that's a lot of work. So thank you and your team.
Yeah, and like I said, that this time we've had before the funding actually hits our budget has really allowed us to do even more planning. And, you know, I've been thinking about like, okay, you know, right now we're struggling to get projects done, right? And so why are we struggling? You know, and a lot of it is not being able to completely track where you are within that project. So I think getting up to that standard, you know, is really important for us. And we're there. And then by hiring a superintendent who's gone through this process before with the city of Anchorage, I think will allow us to even take a whole new level of project tracking. And really, yeah, I mean, it's important that the public knows what we're doing, but we have to know kind of where we are and then set realistic expectations moving forward. Because, you know, you guys have followed along with capital projects and you know all the pitfalls. So being able to anticipate those is going to be really important for us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further questions, comments, Vice Chair Trieger?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. It's so exciting to see these levy dollars starting to really have an impact. I just have one question as far as outreach for the survey. I know I've been to several community events and seen you and Latife and others tabling, so I know we're doing that sort of blanket, not so targeted research, but outreach. But have you worked specifically with our DDS folks? Because we serve, you know, better part of 4,000 people, about a third of them children, and so their family members, and then the adults receiving services. Seems like a really ripe and ready, easy internal audience to make sure that they get that survey completed.
Yeah, I think that's a really good recommendation. So we've identified a number of organizations. We've reached out to them. RTDS is one. We're looking at the Autism Society, the local chapters. But I think what we want to do is, as we get into like January, see where those results are and where we may be lacking a little bit, and then have that follow up with those organizations because we're not going to have equal distribution. That's just not going to happen. But at least bolstering those numbers to give it enough feedback, because we know they're all substantial barriers. And right, you know, identifying those key groups is going to be important for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Further comments, questions? Commissioner Seneca.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Brett. And I look back at the tour we did of of Western Lane, and you know, that really does show your pride in the parks we have here in Lane County. So thank you for that. That was very eye-opening. And you know, you brought up asphalting and lines and stuff like that, but I want to support you in that, and it does make a big difference, because a lot of those parks, you go into them and they're all potholed, or somebody will spin in cookies, and you're just instantly kind of like, is this a place I want to park my car? Where you pull into a nice parking lot that has great curbs, and you know, and those are investments that will last and last and last, where you're actually taking maintenance off the table. You don't have guys out there grading gravel and bringing gravel in a couple times a year. So it's not fun and appealing, but it's good math.
It makes, yeah, so we looked at our deferred maintenance and just how much of it was paving. It was just astronomical, you know, and as you know, the costs are so high, but the maintenance costs are even higher if we don't continue to maintain these facilities. So I think with thinking about each project and not just completing the project, but what is the maintenance going to be moving forward is going to be really important. And designing that project around the maintenance, the preventative maintenance, is going to be critical for us.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we were on the same exact page. I have a question, and it might be something that Mr. Mokrahajski can help with too. Years and years ago, did we raise the rates on RV plates was the county involved in that for campground funding? Or was that just a state thing? for some reason it has a,
So if you're talking about the RV recreation fees.
yeah,
So that's at the state level. And so a certain amount goes to states and goes to counties and cities, so it's a different allocation. And that was raised several years back.
yeah,
So, one incentive for having more campgrounds and more camping is, getting the RV registration fees. And I think it's important that when we think about the folks that are recreating, the RVs, that they actually have them registered with the state, because that gives us funding to maintain those sites into the future. But, it's a cost analysis when you're like, okay, what is the cost to build it and maintain it? And then when you look 20 years later, right, was it a good investment, right? And so, so there's that balance of just how much development, and, we don't want our parks fully developed, obviously, but we do want to be able to understand what are those service levels that are in demand, like the camping, and be able to provide that in different parks.
yeah. Well, I really, once again, thank you. I really like this model. I mean, people see the cost going up on everything, and to not focus on new infrastructure, but on just maintaining and fixing and cleaning up what we have. I think that's a great business model. Thanks a lot, Brett.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner LeBlanc.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm going to go on a limb here, on a risk, Mr. Henry. You said something that really struck my soul. You said something about your daughter. And I just want to say that what you do, how you do it, your passion and your drive, turning a challenge in life into something of service and purpose is going to help thousands of people. And I just want to let you know that I heard that, and good on you, Mr. Henry, good on you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, that's, it's very close to my heart. Actually, my son, and I have a daughter as too, so obviously she probably has some challenges, but, seeing my son just really grow and experience nature and just the healing process through nature is really tremendous. And I think I had mentioned that, he learned to fish at a Lane County park, and, he's really proud of those parks. And I think it's just important that we recognize that there are a lot of different challenges out there. They may not be readily apparent, but we as parents know our children, and we want to be able to put them in the best position to be successful and happy. And I think, if I can make a difference, not only for my own kid, but for others through my work, that makes it even more rewarding.
Got the right guy for the job, don't we?
I agree with you. Thanks for that call out, Commissioner LeBlanc. Thank you. Tanya, now can you bring up my PowerPoint presentation? I have about a 20-minute slide presentation on my family, pictures of my family at Lane County Parks. And I cut it down to 20 minutes. No, that's not for sure, but really, we all take advantage of the parks, and we have such a broad variety of unimproved, improved parks where you can have any kind of adventure you choose to have. That's what we call it, is Adventures in Lane County Parks. Sometimes it's Orchard Point, which is relatively well improved and is a pretty easy place to park, easy place to access. Sometimes it's Richardson. Sometimes it's Siuslaw Falls. And you go up to Siuslaw Falls, and the experience that you have there is just unbelievable. You're so far from any other sounds, any other activity. And usually when you get there, you're the only people there. And we spend days up at Siuslaw Falls just listening, watching, wading in the water, watching there's an old project on the other side of the river there that is the history is just fascinating. So you don't have to go to a nearby park, but you don't have to travel a great distance.
Exactly. You make a day trip, and, we have a lot of hidden gems out there, and we want to make sure that people know about those, yet keep it kind of down low enough where, they don't get too busy, because, people do love our parks to death. You look at, obviously, Mount Pisgah, Howard Beaufort Recreation Area, and, right now we're just trying to figure out how we can accommodate everyone and all the different user groups. So Thank you.
We do have large parks with large parking lots that do accommodate large crowds, and we also have tiny parks that really, if you get there, you're lucky to find a parking spot. One of the 2 or 3, but, Vice Chair, go ahead.
Hey, something just occurred to me as you were saying that. Has there been any thought given to developing a parks app for Lane County parks? People can pull up and sort by different amenities and distance from where they are and accessibility and all these other.
Yeah, so actually, we're working with a group out of Portland, Arboretum is, and we will be, that it's an accessibility app. So it's something real easy for anyone, like my parents, could get on there and see, okay, well, can I possibly hike this 2.5-mile loop? And, what am I gonna see? Is it worth my time? And, am I gonna get out there in the middle of it and not be able to come back? So understanding more about what's in the parks is important, but from that accessibility angle, yeah, there's already something in place.
Great, thank you.
And thanks for that, Vice Chair, because, you mentioned it, Brett, that we partner with other agencies, not the least of which is the Corps of Engineers. All of our parks around Fern Ridge Reservoir are on a Corps of Engineer facility. Anything on the Willamette or Mackenzie River are in conjunction with the Corps of Engineers, but there's far more than just the Corps. There are the different local agencies, and even our decommissioned parks, such as Zumwalt. We all love anybody who's been there loves Zumwalt, but it's not something that we maintain very much, but it's really a true jewel. So I could go on for a long time, Ms. Mokrowski, about how great Lane County parks are. We're blessed with it, and we're also blessed that you decided to move to our county and help us move our parks forward. Thank you very much, Brett.
Thank you for the support. I appreciate
You have everybody's applaud. So with that, anything further on parks? Thanks. We'll see you in January or February with the next update. I believe that's when we're scheduled, and excited about that.
Okay, thank you very
I
much.
know you could have kept going clear into the afternoon.
Yeah,
Your
I'm ready
passion
to
is
talk about
evident.
our parks.
Bravo. Thank you, Ms. Mokrowski. Then we will move down our agenda. We have about a 2-hour executive session this no, we don't. I'm kidding. See if anybody's listening. We have no call for executive session this morning. Before we recess for the noon break, Ms. Mokrowski, any other business?
No.
At which point then we'll enter into recess at my gavel, and we'll reconvene at 1:30 in Harris Hall with a 1:30 time certain public hearing.